Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Jamaicans for Justice says SOEs have become a political tool rather than a crime deterrent. Farmers urged to put measures in place to reduce Praedial Larceny. And later in sports, management team of five-time Olympic champion not worried despite coaching change. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. A severe weather alert remains in effect for the island. The Met Service says the alert will remain in effect until 5 this afternoon. A broad trough currently across the southwestern Caribbean Sea is drifting towards Jamaica. Satellite imagery indicates that the system continues to produce a large area of cloudiness with showers and thunderstorms across the western Caribbean. Fishers and other marine interests are urged to exercise extreme caution, especially on the south coast, as sea conditions will deteriorate due to showers, thunderstorms, and gusty winds. A political tool. That's how Jamaicans for Justice (JFJ) is viewing the repeated use of states of emergency. Herman Green has the details.
Just last week, the government announced a state of emergency for the parish of St. James. It came on the heels of a triple murder which involved the death of 2 young children. But the measure, which is expected to come to an end next week, continues to receive criticism over its effectiveness in curtailing the country's crime wave. One of the country's watchdog organizations, Jamaicans for Justice (JFJ), has taken it further. It believes the security measure is now being used politically. Michael Jackson is the executive director of Jamaicans for Justice.
I think sometimes for political expediency, the governments put forward things like state of public emergency because unfortunately you won't see the results of their efforts within that 5-year period. So it's not to say that things are not being done already. The challenge that we're having is that the results will go across administrations. It is going to take years for us to feel them, and therefore the government is saying, let's put in place the state of public emergency. Let's pass these draconian laws so the public feel as if we're doing something.
The JFJ executive is adamant that the measure is not helping.
We're seeing the murder rate trending down, but there are other variables at play. And 2023 is the only year that we've had less state of public emergency. So again, we may say SOE says lies, but the evidence isn't there to support it.
Okay.
Now you ask the question about people giving up their rights. I say, whose rights are you giving up? The reality is, Neville, you have the benefit of a popular face. If the police were to pull you over, the likelihood of you being detained for over 400 days, like some of the clients that JFJ has had, it wouldn't happen.
Ms. Jackson says the measure only provides members of the security forces with extraordinary powers, which sometimes are abused. In the meantime, she's calling for a strengthening of the country's witness protection program.
If people speak up that there is sufficient resources to protect them, to possibly relocate them. So those are some of the immediate things that come to mind. Because if you speak up, if it is that you speak out against somebody, you want to be assured that there will be no reprisal against you. So those 2 immediate solutions come to mind to the government of Jamaica.
Herman Green, TVJ News.
Farmers are being encouraged to play their part in preventing Praedial Larceny. Speaking at a recent stakeholders session in St. Thomas, head of a Praedial Larceny Prevention Unit, Superintendent Oral Pasco, suggested that some farmers are not actively enforcing basic measures to prevent theft.
You have goats. It's in this quarter of the year, and you put the goats at the roadside. The amount of goats, I'm going to go back to a map, I think in Portland, Orange Bay. It's when I go back to that map, if you see, all along the coastline is where they just jump out the car, pick the goat up, put it in something, they can slaughter and do what they want to do. So we are saying the protection and knowing your area, know what, and putting basic measures can at least prevent the stealing of your animals, your produce.
He also laments that the challenge of underreporting of theft, which he says usually leads to vigilante justice.
You say we catch a boy, we're going to chop him up, we're going to mince him up, fine. But guess what? While you mince him up, fine, you're putting yourself in what? Legal jeopardy. You have to try to put on your lawyer money when you mince up persons. Because you're going to go, the police might not, listen, might not have caught the individual. But if it's still a crime. If you chop someone, you kill someone, whether mob or not, we are going to prosecute you.
The medical health officer for St. Thomas says youngsters are particularly vulnerable to the current dengue outbreak because the country has not been impacted by this strain for over 10 years, and so younger citizens have no immunity against it. Dr. Doyen Smith was speaking at the latest municipal corporation meeting, where he reiterated safety tips for residents to help get rid of mosquito breeding sites. More from Krista Campbell.
Medical Health Officer for St. Thomas, Dr. Doyen Smith, says with the parish recording the most cases of dengue fever, residents must do more to better protect themselves and surroundings from the dengue-carrying Aedes aegypti mosquitoes. And so he reiterated the need to constantly check for mosquito breeding sites and keep them clear of water.
The eggs on the ground for the Aedes is not going to hatch. The Aedes are really container-based mosquitoes. So, and on the ground they tend to get washed away, other things happen to them. But it's the eggs that are in the containers protected. So your vases, your dog bowls, for our parish is 45-gallon, 55-gallon drums, that the eggs are still there. Water goes, a year later you get back water, or you have a shortage of water, drought. The truck comes, fills up your container. Your mosquitoes already are born with the dengue virus inside them. And that's why dengue is always here in Jamaica.
But he noted the current dengue outbreak has been particularly rough on younger citizens, and he explained why.
The one that's circulating now, the last time it was here in a major way was somewhere near 2010. 2010. So all those kiddies under 14 would not necessarily have been here when we had the last big outbreak. And so that's why they're more vulnerable. Those of us who would have been here during that time would have been exposed and had some amount of protection against the type 3 that's circulating.
And so he's reminding residents to cover any water drum they have and to avoid washing out drums that have been treated for mosquito larvae.
Ensure that you are wearing your long sleeves where possible, utilizing your repellent where safe, and ensuring that you're opening the windows whenever we're doing our fogging activities. Because a lot of people call to complain that the fogging doesn't work. But they lock up the windows and protect the mosquitoes when we do fog.
Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
Good roads, but more so the precious commodity, potable water, is what Spring Garden residents in St. Thomas are begging the authorities to make available to them. They say for more than 30 years, they have had to be finding ingenious ways to get water for basic use. Kirk Wright has that story.
Residents of Spring Garden say it's been more than 3 decades since they've been struggling to get potable water to fill their basic needs. When they complain, water trucks are sent to the community. That aside, they say both political parties have paid little attention to making sure the problem is addressed. Schools are among the most affected, with attendance impacted as a result.
So when we don't have water, we have to send the students home half day, and we get nutrient water from the Ministry of Education. We have to give the students this, and when we don't have, we simply have to send them home. Sometimes parents complain that they don't have water to wash their uniforms, so students cannot come to school. So it affects our attendance.
The residents have suggested their own fix to the problem.
Let's give the mayor and the council permission to put the Harbour Spring water in the line, please, till you guys have planned to let us get our water. Please, NWC, I'm asking you, please, don't be selfish.
The community members say they're always prepared to receive the trucked water.
Every house in the community have a tank on it. It's like a hog pen or a farm running in the community.
The problem is the precious commodity is seldom available, but while we were in the community, a water truck arrived.
Nobody can check me, just because TVJ are coming and send water up here. No, you can't check me, because when this come now, I'm gone, it's gone.
Councillor for the area, Ron Bryan, says the municipal corporation simply cannot afford to truck water to the area on a sustained basis.
And it's very costly. And one of the reasons why they haven't got no water for the longest while from our trucking system, because we just don't have no money. We're flat broke, so to speak, waiting for the local government ministers to send something come, but there's just no money.
Mr. Bryan says a solution has been put to the National Water Commission, which is yet to respond.
So, with the mayor, who have a minor water supply in his area, which is borderline Spring Garden in my division, he decided, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to ask Water Commission if we can tap into their lines, because there's just no water running through their pipe. So that's where it's at right now.
I believe it would be a great injustice if NWC don't allow us to use this line to better the life and livelihood of the people in this place.
Kirk Wright, TVJ News.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. TVJ News understands that a store owner is grappling with the loss of appliances as fire ripped through the store on Santa Plaza, Main Street, Santa Cruz. A preliminary reports confirm that the Santa Cruz Police and Fire Brigade were alerted about the fire last evening about 7:40. Swift action by the Fire Brigade led to the safe recovery of most of the items inside the haberdashery. It's suspected that the fire started as a result of an electrical short circuit. The damage is estimated to be $7.5 million. And it's now time for the Business Minute. National Commercial Bank Jamaica Limited has appointed Dr. Carrie-Ann Hepburn Malcolm to lead a newly established wealth management division. This takes effect on December 4. NCB's CEO Bruce Bowen says the new division was formed as part of a group's wider strategy to reach more clients with financial products and services. He says this is also expected to accelerate the growth of NCB's customer base. Dr. Hepburn Malcolm will be responsible for maximizing the sale of investment and insurance products into the bank's retail, SME, and commercial customer base. This will especially be geared to high net worth clients. NCB says the wealth distribution arm of NCB Capital Markets Limited, the insurance sales arm of NCB Insurance Agency and Fund Managers Limited, and the bank's private banking unit will operate with the leadership of this newly established wealth management division. Dr. Hepburn Malcolm will be demitting her current position as managing director of the prominent Trinidad and Tobago media house, Guardian Media Limited, at the end of November. Further afield, some of the major banks in the world expect global economic growth to slow further in 2024, squeezed by elevated interest rates, higher energy prices, and a slowdown in the world's two largest economies. According to a Reuters report, the global economy is forecast to grow 2.9% this year, with next year's growth slowing to 2.6%. Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, Juliana O'Connor Connolly has assumed the role of leader of the Cayman Islands. This follows Premier Wayne Panton's decision to step down after his leadership was widely condemned in a vote of no confidence in Parliament on Tuesday. O'Connor Connolly was sworn in at the governor's office last evening following a day of negotiations to establish a new United People's Movement from the members of the Pact Coalition. On the international scene, roads have begun to crack and buildings buckle under pressure of underground magma as Iceland prepares for a possible volcanic eruption. Around 900 earthquakes hit south of the country on Monday, November 13, with tens of thousands of tremors reported in recent weeks. And Egypt is prepared to receive 36 babies from Gaza if they are still alive, according to the country's health minister. The Israeli military said it is conducting a raid inside Gaza's biggest hospital as it targets Hamas militants it claims are operating beneath the structure, which the militant group and hospital officials deny. Thousands of Palestinians are believed to be sheltering in and around the hospital, where conditions have rapidly deteriorated, with doctors working by candlelight and wrapping premature babies in foil to keep them alive. And those are the top regional and international stories. I'm Kerry Simpson.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, Jordan Ford will have your midday sports report.